Okay, it is now 7 and we generally start on the dot. Now, those who have listened to this in earlier presentations, slightly as knowledge encompasses and merge and emerges from the periphery, we incorporate the cutting edge information, but then look at how the world is unfolding, how the virus is violently spreading, how the new variant, because they did not want to humiliate India, they called it the Delta virus. And yesterday, there is something which is far more sinister. There is something which is far more sinister which is emerging, and that is called the Delta Plus. It is far more efficient in killing people. 3 to 4,000 deaths every day is something we can't even bear with. Imagine the loving ones in a family, the breadwinner or the parents die. We have had medical students whose parents both have passed away because of COVID. Now, all of that in the current emerging knowledge could have been avoided. We look at fantastic doctors, brilliant brains around the world who have broken new ground, and by which they are absolutely clarifying 100% guarantee no death. This virus simply is not out to kill, it simply wants to multiply. The body overreacts. Kindly mute your mics as you come in. The body overreacts, and we are not having any clue. Has any political bodies or health authorities or doctors or the WHO, it's all bogus. The way, because we have indulged in a very strict lockdown, things are under control. The virus simply wants to jump to another human and go on its path. But it will use the other human, millions will multiply and then go on its path. Now the body suddenly reacts. The large majority will will get well, but those who do not have a robust immune system will succumb. Now, initially, did we realize that this doctors around the world started treating in a variety of ways? And we said, oh, you got COVID and a whole host of drugs and various things. Did we realize specifically when does a patient start deteriorating? On the 8th day, specifically, make a timeline, which is why um, 1 second. Now, which is why we treated in a variety of ways. But specifically, we realize, few brains realize the sudden deterioration happens on the 8th day. Exactly on the 8th day. Why that happens? Why do people die? What? Look at doctors who have had 100% success, 4,000 people treated, not a single death. It means there is an answer also. And it means that we are not really focused. Everybody beats their drum in a variety of ways, and a whole lot of sort of things go wrong. What can you, as doctors at the cutting edge of knowledge, frontline warriors, or people in your own family, please help? We are thinking, what can you do? Let us have a detailed look. At the end of it, of course, there will be a question answer session, and therefore, this is unlimited Zoom account. So, consequently, please clarify all your doubts. Anywhere we talk about, people are getting sick and bedridden, and they are dying. So, therefore, let us have. I hope my screen as well as my voice is clear. Now, if you've got to say something, please unmute your mic and talk, because I cannot see what is written in the chat area. So therefore, don't feel hesitancy, because we need to be very clear on what's happening. So as a consequence, if at all you want to talk anything, don't bother. Just unmute your mic and talk. So let us have a look at why things go wrong, why is it spreading, and who are the ones who are getting sick, and if they are sick, what can you do? I hope this screen, as I'm talking and my voice is clear. I just want to know, is my screen and voice clear? Can somebody unmute and tell me? Okay. Thank you for. Now, at any point, if you want to clarify anything, simply unmute your mic and then ask me, because it's an extensive thing. We need to be having absolute clarity on what.
Yeah, I think that's a very brilliant idea. What do you say?
Now this presentation and my voice, if it is not clear, you need to unmute your mic and tell me. Otherwise, I have no clue. I can't see the chat area. Can you see the screen as well as the presentation, please? Can somebody unmute and tell me, can you see the screen and the presentation voice?
We can hear your voice, but we can't see the screen.
Oh, somebody should have in the beginning. Anyhow, shall I start over again, because it is an invaluable presentation and you must have an absolute grip on this. Now again, can you see this screen, please?
No, sir, we can't see the screen.
1 second.
How he made it so long? What is this clay?
This screen, can you see, please?
Yes,
Hello,
sir.
this screen, can you see?
Yes, COVID precautions, prevention, and prognosis. We can see that.
Yeah, exactly. I wonder why it was there. Somebody should have immediately told me you can't see the screen. Is my voice clear, please?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I'll just review it again. Now, why are we so concerned? Because it is an unfolding pandemic, which nobody seems to be having a clue. People are dying in their thousands, millions are getting infected. So let us have a look. Now, is my voice and screen clear, please?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now let us have a look why no governments, politicians, health authorities, doctors, why nobody has a clue. Let us look at it from a proper, specific, dynamic point of view. This is a global picture, and what does it show? 168 million cases, 3 million deaths. That is how much the spread is. Let us just pick two countries. Which are they? Number one, the United States. How many are there? 32 million. India, 27 million. It is as bad in India as it is there. In spite of, look at the differences in finances and economics, and look at how close we are in that terrible unfolding tragedy. Now, in that regard, let us see how many millions confirmed cases. 27 million, 318,000 deaths. The way you saw bodies burning dumped into the river, and it's so sad it is. Let us have a look at why it is happening. Now, if a patient is positive and violently sort of bringing out millions of viruses, we need to have a proper idea of why people are getting infected. Is there any body or doctor or health authority who has looked into the? Everybody says wear a mask. No, that's not the way. This is me with my mask. It has got to extend from the root of the nose 1 centimeter to 1 inch behind the chin, from one corner of the ear to another corner. That is the spread. I've seen masks with a small little thing. You look at that gap. It's a small little gap. Millions of viruses, if it are around, they will go into that gap and catch. Look at that gap here. Who has addressed? And I've seen the surgical mask worn. There is a huge gap. What is the meaning? It's making a mockery of things. You got to protect yourself. That's how only you can protect. But unfortunately, nobody seems to. People give me a mask. How much? 50, sort of 5 rupees, 10 rupees. They buy the cheapest possible mask. One should be protecting their lives. And apart from that, because I said, look at the small little gap between the eye and the cheek. This gap should be addressed, and that can only be addressed as of now by this polycarbonate face shield, which is to be attached. And of course, I do not have any financial commercial interest in these things, but this is something that I find really good. You can tilt this face shield when you're in an isolate room wanting to have some food, but this should be worn. How many do we find people wearing this sort of a face shield? Few. Now, even if you wear a shield, there is a gap you see here. All that. Has anybody ever thought about these things? I've seen face shields in the indigo.
Your voice and screen have both disappeared. It did no.
Good enough, was in good faith. But then when there's a huge gap here, there's no meaning in it at all. So you got to be wearing a 5-layer thick cotton cloth mask, not the what they talk about N95. Why? Because Robert Redford, the CDC former director, said the only thing that protects me is a thick cotton mask. Now, apart from that mask, you have to be wearing a face shield that totally envelops your head, and that's me with my face shield. But you must observe that there's a small little gap there. Has anybody systematically, technically looked into these things? There is a gap which has to be addressed. There's a gap below as well. You've got to completely immerse yourself. What a huge gap. Imagine there are millions of viruses around here and waiting to catch the individual, and you're not taking the requisite. So I tried addressing that by enveloping in a shawl, looking at the thing and covering this gap. But then it became too suffocating and too boiling hot that I could not sustain it for a point of time. But is there a way out? Of course, yes. Because look at this company called Air. They have brought out what is called an air bubble. It is only, the virus enters only through the head. It does not enter through the rest of the body as long as the skin is intact. There's no meaning. Actually, one must realize in wearing a PPE, they talk about a personal protection equipment, entire body and boots and all that, absolute meaningless. What is the meaning of talking we are permitting 6 feet of social distancing? No, it doesn't really make a difference at all. You got to be enveloping the entire head in a sterile air bubble. That is the future way to live. There is no other way emerging. This has got an absolute airtight filter which completely filters viruses. Of course, it is powered, little expensive, but isn't your life precious and expensive?
Excuse
Now,
me, sir.
look at this. It completely covers the mouth, nose, eyes, allows a full facial view and a wide range of sight.
Hello.
Now, yes,
Sir, sorry to interrupt, but the screen is not visible, sir.
here I have given the lab. This screen is not seen.
No, sir, it's not seen, sir.
1 second. Is this screen seen, please? Can you see this screen, please?
Yes, sir. Now visible.
Yeah, something happened. I don't know what happened. Anyhow, I'll just repeat because these are things we must have an absolute. You have seen this, isn't it? Have you seen this slide? Air bubble. Hello. I need somebody to interact, please. My voice and screen, is it clear, please?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Can you please be on the call and please interact? Otherwise, I have no clue. Now you got, this is the only thing. The company claims 100% guaranteed protection if you're living inside this air bubble marketed by a company called Air, AIR. Now let's have a look at biomarkers. Number one, when suddenly the cytokine storm sets in, this is what will happen. The interleukin 6 starts going up, ferritin more than 250 to 300, around 300. The moment you see a higher ferritin level, patient is sinking. If the LDH, lactate dehydrogenase, is more than 210, this patient is on the way to absolute shutdown of the lungs. So therefore, they may have what is called a happy hypoxia. They may be absolutely asymptomatic. But if the LDH is high, there is a guaranteed possibility that he will suddenly sink. When there is a complete inflammation across the system, the C-reactive protein will increase. And what is the prime problem in COVID infection? Hypercoagulability state, like in pregnancy, DIC. Suddenly there will be blood clotting everywhere, where in the brain causing a stroke, or in the lungs causing a pulmonary shutdown, or in the heart into heart attacks. And when that happens, when blood clots and it starts breaking, what goes up in the blood is D-dimer, usually unrecognizable. You can't even find D-dimer, but the moment it goes beyond one, that is a warning that things are going to horribly go suddenly out of control, and shortly death will happen. Now let us have again a little look at these things. Baseline interleukin 6. Usually, often I've seen not this being routinely done, but interleukin 6 is highly predictive of a potential death. Will it die? Patients ask. And the moment interleukin 6 is more than 37 picogram per liter, almost certain the death will happen. Now, what is the greatest problem is, look at LDH. That's all that you need to look at. LDH. I've taken this from randomly from patient reports. If the LDH is more than 210, remember that unit, 210, then a pulmonary shutdown is likely, and you've got to quickly move in. Time is precious. And apart from LDL, I said about C-reactive protein, normal range is less than 8, but suddenly it starts shooting up. And then, of course, we have in once we found serum ferritin level. The normal is around 290 nanogram per ml serum ferritin. And therefore, up to about 300 is permissible. But suddenly, when patients start deteriorating, ferritin shoots up. So, serum ferritin, D-dimer, which should be untraceable, more than 0.5 means suddenly blood is going to clot and they will die. Now, in that regard, what did we look at? Lactate dehydrogenase, D-dimer, ferritin, C-reactive protein, all of which, especially lactate dehydrogenase. If you do that, they will either you ask for these things or they will come with the report. The moment you see lactate dehydrogenase more than 210, no more waiting. Quickly, you got to move in. Now, what will you do? Why are patients getting infected? Because primarily the large number have, if they have a robust immune system, they will have a mild upper respiratory infection and get out of it. But what can you do to enhance immunity? What is a preventive thing? Four things. Please realize, I have, the great sadness in medicine is we hardly have any exposure in immunity at all. Immunity is something I've been practicing for the last 3 decades of my life. What are the 4 cornerstones of immunity? Number one, amino acids. Amino acids, valine, threonine, tryptophan, isoleucine, leucine, 8 amino acids, absolutely essential. That these are the building blocks of life. Number 2, ascorbate. Number 3, iron. Number 4, zinc. And finally, today we know the greater role is played by the biosis or bacteria in the intestine. And When that is inadequate, we call it a condition of dysbiosis. So these 5 things are absolutely, one of it is missing, the immunity is low. What contributes to the low immune status? All of this are not adequate in today's diet. Look at a normal vegetarian diet, not that I'm criticizing non-vegetarianism, but a vegetarian diet, a huge spread of various ingredients, plus thair, mori, rasam, sambar, and a whole lot of things, pickle and papad and all that. Where is all that today? It's all gone. So consequently, it is no wonder earlier people were sick. Today we have 6 medical colleges in Bangalore. Each college needs to have about 1,000 beds, 6,000 beds, all full. That's a sad reflection on today's society's health. So let us have a look. I will to look at why do this is my initial thing that I said. The moment you have a tiny window period of a half an hour, I repeat again, 30 minutes, half an hour, you can immediately actually feel how many of I've seen people absolutely neglected. So slight sneeze, slight sore throat, slight nasal congestion, fever, fatigue, or body ache. Immediately, that means the virus has just gained entry. Imagine you are from far on top looking at a city, nobody to guard it, and dacoits or terrorists are entering. Like in Mumbai, it happened. Nobody has any clue. And if you're not taking the requisite approach, they will quickly gain control of vital structures. So therefore, what can you do? If for example, in like in a major city, you switch on a warning bell and street searchlights and thousands of police people with fully automatic guns, these guys will beat a hasty retreat. Now, in the human body, what can we do? Frequent sip of hot water. When that increases the body temperature by 1 degree Celsius, it means viral replication will stop. And at that point of time, the body's immunity will kick in, especially how? By neutrophils, which is why when we look at the blood of patients of corona, the neutrophils would have gone up. Too much, if the body is not able to fight and exhausted its sources, if you look at the gun room, when terrorists are attacking, they would have exhausted their bullets, the bullets are zero, which means in the human body, what goes down? Lymphocytosis. They have lymphocytopenia. And therefore, frequent sipping of hot water, countless patients have been saved just by this. And my initial interview, you put my Dr. Devan COVID and all that interview, you can see. And many patients, they said, just by hot water, you're curing. Of course, yes. Isn't that what animals do? The moment they have an infection, they go sit in bright, hot sunlight and protect themselves. Who teaches us about all this? Where is our adequate sunlight exposure? Now, apart from that, today we know that sunlight exposure, at least 5 to 10 to 15 minutes, increases the immune status of the neutrophils, and neutrophil migration is vastly amplified just by sitting in sunlight. Was that the concept of Surya Namaskara, in which you're supposed to do a whole lot of things that forces you to be in sunlight for about 10 to 15 minutes? Of course, yes. What are the benefits are there of sunlight? Today we know sunlight releases nitric oxide from the skin, as a consequence of which it causes vasodilatation, and as a consequence, you have the diminishing of blood pressure. When hypertensive patients come to me, I do not give drugs. I just say sit in sunlight 15 minutes. You see the magic. When also I tell patients in diabetes, that's all that you need to sit in sunlight 15 minutes. 1 month later, the blood sugar have gone down by nearly 100 milligram per deciliter. Did you know about that? We never knew these things. However, just now somebody called and said, manual laborers and rag pickers and those who do the waste disposal, so much they're exposed to. Nothing seems to be happened to them. I said, exactly. That's why the more cleaner and, they said cleaner mothers bring up sick children. No, let them be dirty. Let them, be dirty a bit, bathe in the mud and this thing, and plus sunlight. Look at the street children, they're all healthy because sunlight confers so much of immune protection and a host of things. You will not find manual laborers to a large extent, you will not find either them having either blood pressure or sugar. So anyhow, come back again, frequent sips of hot water, turmeric has its own protective value. And then what are the 4 ingredients? I have treated countless people, children on my regime for 9 weeks. They say for a year, more than a year, doctor, they're absolutely healthy. Even though their classmates become sick, they seem to not be touched at all. What are they? Amino acids, one in the morning, vitamin C, one at night, iron and zinc, one at night. And today we know about the prebiotics, a greater diaspora of multiple healthy bacteria keeps you strong. And in that regard, at least once a week, a prebiotic that requires a probiotic to survive. If you give only prebiotics and they do not have their food, which is a probiotic, then they will die. So all of this, if you give, given countless people across India my immune enhancement treatment. Believe me, the corona will not touch you. If at all it does, then slight amount of, or like a common cold, it will come and go. So that is about corona. Till corona goes, nothing will happen. I give you my guarantee. Now, in spite of all that, sometimes people become sick because I've seen people, they are so scared. They sit in the house, do not expose, totally shun themselves, they still get positive. Why? If you're stressed or if you're in distress, you're opening the gateway for immune depression, which is why we have something called exam fever. Towards the exam, how many students fall sick? Till then, they are healthy. Exam time, they fall sick. Why? Because stress depresses the immune system to nearly 40% and they become vulnerable. Where was it before the exams? If you're emotionally strong, then no bacteria virus can touch you. So be strong in your mind. There are those who say nothing will happen. They take things easy. To a large extent, they are protected. There are those who say, oh my God, I'm vulnerable, scared. And as a consequence, they get caught. So be strong in the mind. And then I said about hot water, because if you keep sipping till one sweats, 1 degree increase in, why do you sweat? When the core temperature increases, the body realizes that, oh my God, the body's temperature has gone too high. It tries to reduce it, and that is it done by sweating. So therefore, 1 glass of hot water, preferably after lunch. And if you go to, I'm not seeing that elsewhere, but if you go to Kerala and go to some of these hotels, they add a little jeera, or they add this thing called karingali and the pinkish water, but it'll be really, really hot. That keeps you healthy. Now, zinc. Please know three things. Number one, the angiotensin converting enzyme receptor type 2. The virus enters the body by attaching to it. After that, there is something called the RNA dependent RNA polymerase, which is also called replicase. The virus uses that to vastly multiply. And when the body realizes it is not able to control it, and eventually the body says, let me shut it down. At least I can save the herd. It is not herd immunity. The body has its own survival. But I said, let me at least protect others. And finally, it shuts the body down. It's like a Japanese thing called a harakiri. How does that happen? By this thing called a cytokine storm. The whole thing completely shuts down. Now, RNA dependent RNA polymerase, angiotensin converting enzyme receptor, and the cytokine storm all are prevented or blocked by zinc. How much of zinc? 50 milligrams per day. If you are zinc replete, then there are so many articles zinc protects, and that is why initially there was a burst of zinc supplementation. I have got calls from ICU, my students who are doctors working in the ICU, we have had sinking patients. What can we do? I said, triple the dose. The virus is multiplying rapidly. Triple the dose, it will absolutely shut down replicase and patients have survived. Triple means 150 milligrams of zinc gluconide per day. But today, of course, it has gone into disrepute because they say the zinc opens up a gateway for black fungus or mucormycosis to come in. No, I will not agree. Why? Because now we know that this Indian variant called the Delta variant opens a gateway for the fungus to come in. And the fungus, there is a neutrophil or white cells that can attack a fungus. When did we see earlier mucormycosis in the extremely immune depressed patients? So my argument was vastly increase the immune system. I'll show you a way of how to do it. And suddenly this fungus that goes into the brain, into the eyeball, into the all that can immediately be arrested. But anyhow, zinc is nature's backbone of immunity, and do not sort of dispense, because we have been dealing with zinc for decades and we know how powerful it is. So we leave zinc there and look at what happened. Initially we said, oh, we can protect or prevent because this prevents the virus from multiplying, and hydroxychloroquine. But what hydroxychloroquine does, it increases QT interval, and as a consequence the heart's QT interval, and if a patient has already got a prolonged QT interval, on top of that, if you give hydroxychloroquine, suddenly the heart will stop. How many doctors have died? They wanted to protect themselves in the beginning, because we look at the unfolding of the pandemic. Initially, we never knew the dynamics of the virus. Many people took hydroxychloroquine, including projected by the American president, but people started dying because of hydroxychloroquine. What should have been done? The conductive system is by a group of wires, the bundle of His in the heart, and that is get blocked. All that we needed to do was to protect it by omega-3, docosahexaenoic acid, arachidonic acid, and the three essential fatty acids. And this absolutely protects the heart. But we did not know that idea in the beginning. People just took hydroxychloroquine and died. Now it is completely sort of withdrawn from the consciousness. Today it is considered. Now we leave hydroxychloroquine and look at when a patient is, you have a tiny window period of half an hour only. Please be very clear, because I've been dealing with this for so many patients now. In the initial phase, a slight amount of itching in the throat, slight amount of feverishness, tiredness, frequently sip hot water till a person sweats, which means at the moment the temperature increases by 1 degree, viral multiplication will stop, the body will kick in and kill it. But otherwise, if you're not able to do that, what is the first phase treatment? 100% this viral multiplication can be stopped. What is this breakthrough drug, ivermectin? It is so sad. Vested interest and ulterior motive fellows are trying to block it. The WHO and some health authorities, absolute bogus fellows, because of ivermectin discovered, the application of which is discovered by an Australian doctor who initially found out about the acidic treatment by Campylobacter. They proposed ivermectin like a miracle. It works. Dr. Demelo from Bombay, he gives only for 2 days. By the third day, they're negative. It is that powerful. What else can I add to ivermectin? Doxycycline, 100 milligram, one twice daily. Now, is there anything else I can add? Should I add? Yes. What does happen? Thick inspissated mucus, and then patients can start getting headaches because the sinuses are filled. Now, how can we liquefy and apart from that, prevent the virus from multiplying is by this fantastic drug. It is actually not a drug, it's actually a protein, like a protein it is, and that is N-acetylcysteine, marketed as Mucotob, Mucorin, 600 milligram tablet. It is one twice daily. Now, along with that, what is the major problem with COVID patients? They get terrible blood clotting. The medical student the other day from that other medical college, third day was sitting in the ward, suddenly he dropped down dead. How many patients have suddenly dropped down dead? Because like in pregnancy TIC, suddenly they have blood clotting all across. What happens? The clotting in the brain results in a stroke. The clotting in the lung results in pulmonary shutdown, heart attacks. And therefore, any corona patient must be given ecosprin one daily. Should we go on to something else? Yes, if the D dimers start shooting up, then you must give far more powerful drugs like what is called low molecular weight heparin or Clixane. These are drugs absolutely, but that cannot be done independently. It has to be under the purview of a good doctor who can take good care. And but what can everybody do? Please talk these drugs with your parents, with yourself, and near and dear ones who care for you. What are the drugs? I repeat, these are life saving. In a minute, patients can spin out of control and they can die. I've seen, within minutes, in half an hour, 1 hour, in a day, they neglect it, and suddenly they will. So any patient, even if it is RT-PCR negative, these are, if there is symptomatic, how many patients in Bangalore Medical College are corona suffering, but the lab report has come back as negative and they neglected. My classmate, we studied together in Manipal, he had all the symptoms, but his test became negative. He said it's just a flu. Third day, suddenly he started sinking. Fourth day, he was dead. So if the symptoms are suggestive, it is, as a doctor, it's your gut feeling. If these symptoms are suggestive, what are they? Slight running nose and very bad nose blockage and fever and body pain, body ache, and all that, classic symptoms of corona straight. There's absolutely 100%, I guarantee, no side effect. Of the first thing people ask, and I get terribly irritated, is there any side effect? I said, otherwise, if you're too concerned about side effect, you go die. That's all I can say. Because in genuine good interest, when I'm trying to help you, they sort of all sorts of rubbish will be written on the internet. They refer there and then come back to us. I said, don't come to me, go elsewhere, please, because we can't sustain this anymore. Now I repeat again, what are the drugs? Keep it with yourself, because doctors are 700, 800 doctors are already gone. So buy it. How much does it cost? 300, 400 rupees. But by chance we neglect and get pushed into the ICU, what is the bill? 5 lakh, 10 lakh, and double that, and eventually they will die. So therefore, for 5 days, keep it with your parents, with your near and dear people who are supporting you, your loved ones, with yourself. Ivermectin 12 milligram tablet, doxycycline 100 milligram, N-acetylcysteine 600 milligram, ecosprin 75 milligram. Is there anything else? Yes, because this fantastic discovery of this American doctor we'll discuss that later, but he said if you nebulize with budesonide, if the patient starts getting breathless, keep that buy a nebulizer and keep it at home, especially if there are elderly people, keep it there and keep a bottle of budesonide. And finally, all 5 days, 100% guarantee. I don't know, I look at 4,000. We are not talking about 50, 60, 4,000 people are dying per day, means what a tragedy. And is there no directive or is there no health advisory by anybody? It's so sad things are like this. Not a single death should happen. If this protocol is followed, it will cure any patient. I guarantee that, because so many we have given across India because of my speech in the beginning that happened, it became viral and patients started contacting me. That's how when they are desperate, anybody they can come up, they will contact. And I've given the same standard everywhere, 100%. They have survived. Apart from that, what these are interventions, but the body also would like to have a fighting chance. You do not have the requisite. I've seen pyrexia of unknown origin for 10 days to 12 days. All I give is just one zinc and iron tablet, zinc 50 milligram. Just give that, see the magic. In 24 hours, the fever will disappear. The body is waiting to fight it. That fighting silver tipped bullet is zinc. Just give that. In 24 hours, fever will disappear. So many patients we have there.
Hello, sir. Hello, sir. So you're not audible, sir.
I hope my anything problem immediately you can't put a chat message. I make very clear because I can't see that. You need to unmute your mic and talk to me. So again, these are things. I hope my voice and screen is clear.
Yes,
Is
sir.
my voice and is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Now all of this immediately institute, because we are dealing, in a minute life can simply ebb away, and all of this will enhance the immune system and people will come out of it. All twice a day. As a preventive, give it once a day, but as a treatment, any corona patient, this has to be, if you want a guarantee to cure them, this has to be given. Why? Because I've been dealing with this sort of a treatment last. I've not seen, I should not criticize doctors, but I've not seen an immune treatment angle in any of the prescriptions that have come my way. And unless these are incorporated, it will simply not work. So therefore, all of this has to be started twice a day, give it for 10 days. I guarantee that they will come out. Now, should we add Phenergan or not? Of course you should, but we'll see why. Now, in case it can happen to anybody on this forum or our near and dear loved ones or patients, by chance you have pushed into the ICU. I, I know doctors are good people, but sometimes these ICU fellows act with a certain arrogance. Sometimes when I see the public going violent, in spite of my request, begging, pleading, I said, please give this drug, they will survive. They have said, acted with a certain indifference and they have refused to accept, and patients have died. Will I become as violent as a public in spite of my own classmate? We studied together. What a sad thing it is that I begged and pleaded with the ICU doctors of the intensive care of Goa Medical College. They said, no, no, we have our own protocol. We are giving the best. What best? Rubbish fellows. But I begged with them. They refused and we passed away. So anyhow, that is a major problem with ICU. Now, coming back, what is a major problem with these patients? They have disseminated intravascular coagulation. They start clotting everywhere. And in the intestine means intestinal gangrene. In the heart means heart attacks, or lungs means shutdown, or brain means stroke. So from day one, these are patients who should be given aspirin. Now, that you should go the next level and give them enoxaparin, which is again a blood thinning, or low molecular weight heparin, 40 milligram per ml. But then people started criticizing. They said, "What if they start bleeding?" I said, he said, "Are you bothered about bleeding? Are you bothered about death?" Because if you give a blood thinning and absolutely ensure 90% of these deaths will not happen. So that's about aspirin. Now we leave it and come to Dr. Chetty. Now this guy, fantastic. These are all people, they are God's gift to mankind, because he said if it was an infection causing a deterioration in health, from day one they should deteriorate. Nothing happens. Till 7 days, nothing happens. Suddenly on the 8th day, he kept a timeline. How many of us have done that? Every patient, proper. He's a researcher apart from a doctor. And he said, let me systematically put a timeline for every single patient. And to his amazement, he found that these are patients who are suddenly sinking on the 8th day. So he said, he brought out a term, in fact, 8th day therapy. 8th day. Why does it happen? He said that happens because of a hypersensitivity reaction. A hypersensitivity reaction is caused by kinins, and they are attacking two types of receptors. What are they? H1 and H2. H1 in the lungs, H2 in the intestine. And he said all that they require are H receptor blockers. What are H1 receptor blockers? We have the first generation, Phenergan, promethazine, which also will block the H1 receptor in the brain and make you feel drowsy. If you have a very bad cold and you take an antihistamine, H what stands for histamine, and you take an antihistamine, you feel drowsy. Those were the drugs which are available when we were students. Now, of course, we have gone to the second, third generation, which clearly clears off the H1 receptor in the brain, does not touch it, and therefore you will not feel drowsy. The finer one is called fexofenadine, little expensive, but he said if the patient slightly becomes bad, straight start on H1 receptor blocker. If there is an intestinal symptom, that is because the H2 receptor in the intestine, give an H2 receptor blocker, which is famotidine. Now look at his statistics. 4,000 plus patients he has treated, not a single death. Look at here, people are dying left, right, center. Couldn't we have followed him? But today he's become so prominent in the world, in the major discussions around the world. He's invited from South Africa, Dr. Chetty. So that is how fantastic this, which is why I said that should you be adding an H1 receptor in the treatment protocol? You see here, I said Phenergan, 25 milligram, one thrice daily, or levocetirizine, the second generation antihistamine, at least twice daily. This deterioration and death will not happen. So that is hats off to this wonderful, wonderful person from South Africa called Dr. Chetty. Now we leave him there. And he said either Phenergan or come back to this second generation citrazine, high set or levocetirizine is also equally effective. So that's how it is. Now we'll leave that there. And he said very clearly, it's on the 8th day. What happens? It's a hypersensitivity reaction treated by an H1 receptor blocker, which is Phenergan, or if there are intestinal symptoms, immediately treat with an H2 receptor blocker and famotidine. Now, why does suddenly people die? Because of what is called a cytokine storm. And please understand that there is this fantastic drug, pegylated interferon alpha 2b. Commonly, it's now available. Any medical shop should store it. Pegylated interferon alpha 2b. What does that do? It absolutely blocks the cytokine storm. How much does it cost? 400 rupees. How many injections should we give? Just one. Just one injection. No, for want of a one injection, how many have died? But if you give it, the other day I got a call from Coimbatore. They said the mother-in-law is sinking, 70 oxygen. Somehow get it from somewhere and give it. Midnight, I got the call. Within about 1 hour, they bought and got the thing. And from 70, gradually it started going up. And by morning, she was stable and completely recovered and came out. You see, what a wonder drug. But how many, whomever I have given this injection, they have survived. Whomever stubborn, resistant internal medicine or ICU fellows who have not accepted and was not willing to give, they have died, including my classmate died. So that is the miracle drugs, but one should be at the cutting edge. If they do not have any idea, then they should not work in that area. Go to somewhere else. So many other branches. But as far as when we are dealing with patients, we must have an absolute knowledge about the cutting edge drugs which are available and instituted at the earliest to save lives. How many lives are lost because of the lack of anyhow? This is It's also called Virafin by, I think, Dr. Reddy's. That is a little more expensive, but Pegihep is available and costs only 400 rupees, just one injection. Even mild, moderate, or moderately severe, they will come out of this terrible condition and they will survive. Now, I really appreciate one government of Karnataka, because they have issued a directive that interferon alpha 2B is found to be effective enough, and therefore it is improved and should be instituted because it's improvement in respiratory symptoms and lowering so much. At least they have had the boldness to issue this directive to doctors, where in other states have they sort of woken up to this possibility. But again, please know, because the moment they are slightly deteriorating, immediately give this injection. The other day in Bangalore, very severe patient, they said, please inform your family, no hope. I said, nothing, I will not accept. I said, straight away give it on my authority. I take on the responsibility. They gave the injection and nearly 74 oxygen, and he quickly came out of it. By 1.5 days, he was normal. So do we have similar other drugs? Of course. Now we leave that there, and we look at what do we do now when the patients are sinking. We say, oh my God, the lungs are congested, or ground glass appearance, or CT CORAD value 456, and nowhere, no recovery. But look at this guy, Taban. He, I believe, is gifted by God, because he, from Sudan or Nigeria, an extremely painful, difficult life. He walked all the way to South Africa and finally got the resources to eventually join medical school and ultimately became a pulmonologist. He said, why are patients dying like this? And as a pulmonologist, he went into the lung. And he said, let me have a look. How many of us have had the courage to go into the lung? He, with his full protection, he went into the lung. And to his amazement, he found what is really happening in these patients. What a wonderful gentleman. He is gifted by God to humanity, because he went into the lung and he found that the lungs are completely blocked by thick, inspissated mucus plugs like this. And as a pulmonologist, he took his bronchoscope, went into the lung, and pulled out all of them. He said, no drugs. He just pulled out all of them. What a wonderful thing. Look at, and on top of this, when you have a complete blockage like this, and on top of that, when you attach a ventilator, can you imagine what does a ventilator do? It pushes it further in. 96% of the patients in Bangalore Medical College who have been connected to ventilators have died. What is the meaning, therefore? So therefore, that's how we should be aware, and we should have that vision. He went inside, found this mucus plugs, used his bronchoscope with a channel inside with the requisite instruments. He went inside, caught that, and removed them. Look at nice and clean bronchi and bronchioles and all of that. He cleaned them, and he found that all of them survived. That's all that we need to do. What do we do? Oh, we take an X-ray, we take a CT, we take an MRI, and say the ground glass pneumonitis shut down. And when then we tell the patient, listen, no scope, and eventually they die and say, you take the body. But look at this. This is not what we should be doing. We should go, I mean, look at him. He went inside, caught these thick plugs of mucus blocking it. He pulled them out, flushed the lungs, and all patients survived. What a brilliant visionary to mankind. Now, apart from that, look at what this guy did, Dr. Richard Bartlett. Now, he said the lungs are completely congested, and he said they should be given the liberty to expectorate. And he put these patients on nebulization by budesonide. And all of them whom he treated in that fashion opened up the lungs, reduced the inflammation, and then allowed this thick mucus plugs to become fluid enough to be drained out. Everybody survived. Now, what is this guy's name? Dr. Richard Bartlett claimed 100% survival rate. Where in India do we find all this happening? So what should we be doing? Identify and realize it is a hypersensitivity reaction from day one. Put them on an H1 receptor blocker. Realize that this viral multiplication can be absolutely stopped by doxycycline, ivermectin, and then, of course, N-acetylcysteine. And then if they have a slight amount of respiratory distress, we are not in a position to go into the lung and pull these mucus plugs out, but give them budesonide nebulization and save lives. Now let's have a look at things that went wrong. We said patients are sinking because of the because of the look at those patients who have survived. Maybe they've got a good immune system, and we took that plasma and pushed it into patients who were sinking. A few patients it did save, but the first patient treated in Bangalore died. But because it came as a government directive, they were protected. But nevertheless, today we know that this is not the way. In the beginning itself, when I heard about convalescent plasma, I said, rubbish. Why can't you, instead of waiting for somebody else's immune rich plasma to be pushed into, why can't you allow the body to build up an immune system and give what I am directing? But that never happened. Convalescent plasma became famous. People started selling bogus bloods and all sorts of con. Well, that is what we will come across in India, all conmanship. And they said, if you want my convalescent plasma, you deposit money upfront and they would switch off their phones and disappear. All that, happened in Bangalore. Today, of course, this is completely withdrawn. Don't even touch it. Remdesivir, the moment I saw it, I said it is bogus. But then vested interest pushed this drug through the FDA. Instead of dying on the 6th day, they said you will die on the 8th day. What nonsense! And in Bangalore, of course, people started selling fake remdesivir or with a premium margin, 30, 40,000 attached to it. But today we know it does not work and it has been withdrawn. Forget it. Favipiravir also came and went, and it's all gone. But then there is something on the anvil in the horizon, and that is what was given to the American president, which is from this company called Regeneron. Regeneron brought out what is called casirivimab and combination with imdevimab. This is monoclonal antibody. Straight it will go and attack the viral spikes and quickly kill them. And by 24 hours, they will come out of it. But can we afford it? Costs 75,000 to about a lakh, just one injection. But that's how it is of growing important. Those who have the money stacked away. This is in Hyderabad, of course, in a major college. This is going on. The monoclonal antibody combination that will save lives. What is it? Again, please know the names. Casirivimab and imdevimab. And that is an antibody cocktail produced by the Roche company directly against the spike protein. What do? They block the virus's attachment and subsequent entry into the human cells, and they protect against the body's resistance to them. Now, this therapy is most suited for high risk. Now, of course, the president can suddenly be given, but how many can suddenly be given these drugs? But instead of that, there is now 2-deoxy D-glucose, DRDO, Defense Research Organization, made a lot of noise. I said it remains to be seen. So much of noise in the papers. I said it is made unlikely to withstand, because that's not the way. We need to be addressing specific the cytokine storm by pegylated interferon alpha 2b. Replication instantly causes a death by doxycycline and
Sir, not audible, sir.
they have declared the first vaccine related death. Well, there are multiple problems. People with vaccines are found to have myocarditis. Many have had intravascular clotting. I hope my voice and screen is clear. Somebody immediately have to unmute and tell me it is clear.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah. Now, therefore, there are too many people. Suddenly, the executives, oh, I had a vaccine, I'm protected, I'll restart my exercise regime. They die. And 6 people have died out of 6 million given out of the Pfizer vaccine. And there are those who said, oh, what is after all 6 people? What do you mean after all 6 people? 6 people have died. Imagine young children, a mother has died, and who look after them? That is still a statistics. In the person who has died, it is death only. So therefore, everybody in my hospital has taken the vaccine. I have not yet so. It is up to you to take an individual decision. There are countless Americans who have decided not to take the vaccine. Many vaccine centers are shutting down. On top of that, some amount of something happened in the Johnson vaccine. 30 million doses are to be discarded because it got spoiled or something happened, I believe. So that is the situation. It is up to you to take a decision and a call. There are also rumors. Rumors, I must say, that some group of people patented the vaccine and patented the testing even before the coronavirus thing happened, which means they were waiting for the pandemic to happen. They knew it will happen, and now they are advising everybody to take the vaccine. Millions of vaccines. Imagine they are laughing their way to the bank. Now they are saying that the new Delta Plus strain is not susceptible, and they say that you must take a yearly, what is called a yearly booster dose. What rubbish! Humans have survived millions of years without any vaccines or anything. So therefore, it's up to you to, because the natural broadly neutralizing antibodies of the normal human immune system is good enough. You only need to absolutely ensure that they are vastly enhanced and they are fighting fit. So that's about the vaccine. Now, few things. In spite of all that, if you are in a group, and I see still medical students all laughing, chatting in cafeterias, and while they're eating, of course, they've opened their mask. But if there is one positive individual, the entire area is flooded with millions of viruses. Now, technologies also will emerge, and this is a recognized company, the Forbes, Eureka Forbes. They have got this thing called a Corona Guard, which 99.9% of viruses in that vicinity it will kill. So, if you're wanting to eat a food today, every passing minute is dangerous. How many doctors? When you look at leave alone the public, these are doctors who should have actually been taken good care of and protected. But without this requisite knowledge about immunity, I have not seen anywhere any discussion about immunity, which I've been talking about for the last 30 years. I said immunity wise, that is the focus to have. It will prevent infections, it will prevent cancers. If you look at every cancer patient, there may be some cause for their immune depression. If you are immunology, oh my God, that patient is smoking like 30, 40 years, nothing seems to happen. But another person smokes for 10 years and they will have a cancer and die. Primarily, why does that happen? Number one, because of immunity. Number two, other factors that govern cancer development. Now, of course, we did a small little survey because there are so many interns here. And the essence of knowledge is knowing to apply it and having an open mind. The other day, we used to go to the show with my children. Thousands of where the fish are brought in, millions of fish, not a single one with cancer. Why? Because they are in an alkaline medium. So based on that, I said, let us do a small study. Just look at salivary pH. To our amazement, 140 cancer patients, 3 years of a thesis project, not a single cancer patient with an alkaline saliva. They're all acidic. If you look at areas in the world where the water is highly alkaline, not a single cancer. Whereas the Hunza Valley in Pakistan, the Honshu Island of Japan, the Hopi Indians where they live, where the water is highly alkaline, no cancers. We do a master checkup, executive checkup, and whatnot in a 5-star in a corporate hospital. 5,000, 6,000 they'll spend. I only look for, is there a test on alkalinity? 50 rupees, it is 50 paisa, it is not done. Didn't we look at, you have a car and we took use that hygrometer and push it into the battery earlier. Now we have seal batteries. And is the battery alkaline or acidic? If the battery is acidic, the terminals will corrode. If your human body is acidic, the bones will corrode, and also it will affect all systems. Are we looking at alkalinity as a health component? We are not. Today's lifestyle and today's food pattern is such the body tends to be more acidic than otherwise. I've had patients who, the other day, this patient came and please listen carefully. This patient came and he said, small little swelling on the left flank. I touched it. It was a little too hard for seeing. I said, we better have an FNAC. Came back as metastatic grade 4 malignant tumor, cancer. And he elderly gentleman, 65 plus, I think. And he said, no, I prefer to die. But of course, somebody guided him. He said that, anyhow, you're not willing for chemo, radiotherapy, and surgery and all that. How much of misery and suffering? You stop everything. He was sent to the Ayurvedic section of the Manipal Hospital, Manipal, where they gave him cow's urine. In about 2.5 months' time, the entire cancer metastatic grade 4 completely shrank and disappeared. Why? Cow's urine is highly alkaline. Original farm bred cow's urine. That is how some Ayurvedic doctors said, oh, we will cure cancer as well. Because highly alkaline, if it is in this particular, I know one case completely cured. I know of another ENT surgeon, cancer of the esophagus, he only gave cow's urine, completely cured. So when there is cure and this understanding, if you talk to an oncologist about alkaline therapy, they will have no clue. Not that I should criticize this fashion, but we must have an idea about overall how things are. And unfortunately, we do not have any clue. So again, come back. This machine absolutely kills. If you're in a common area, either the management or you as an individual, or saying how much does it cost? I think it costs about 23,000 rupees. But I've asked the company people, even if one person becomes positive, then this should not. But so far, on their extensive surveillance, not as in a common area of familiarity, people gathering, nobody has developed a positivity. That is called the Corona Guard attached here. This room of full of people, board meeting, canteen, cafeteria, party, absolutely will be protected. So what the prerequisite is required, we should do. Now the virus cannot survive on brass. The moment it touches brass, it dies. It will survive on steel, on stainless steel, aluminum, hours on and together. If a corona positive patient catches the bar, the handle of a door and opens the door, on that door handle, the virus will be there. If you touch it and touch your nose, a person can get infected. But brass, it kills. So therefore, which is why in America, most offices are all being the door handles and knobs are all being replaced by brass. That is a unique effect. Didn't we use brass earlier? We kept water in a brass jug and kept it overnight and drank it in the morning because it gave adequate copper or brass, copper. Today, of course, we have forgotten all that. Now, anywhere this virus can be lingering, and of course, we have this gadget. Once it is there, of course, we must know about technology. It's called Acua Solaris. It'll absolutely clear wherever it is. No, I've asked countless patients who became positive in Bangalore. We have not gone out at all, doctor, but the grocery fellow brought some grocery. We kept it outside and then kept it in sunlight for at least half an hour. No. Virus will survive for hours on and together. If that fellow who brought in was positive, it'll all be there. So, well, is there anything that you can do? Yes, this gadget has come, which will absolutely disinfect. In how long? 10 seconds, it is all cleared off. You see, if a technology is there, if they claim it, then better utilize it. Before you touch a car, sterilize it, sterilize everything, because death hangs in the air. Now, why look at this wedding and 100 people became positive? So many weddings, invitations come, you better avoid it, because by chance, be happy, everybody is there to laugh with you, and cry, you will cry alone. And how many people alone in the ICU, they will die. So be very careful. And this pay here, 100 positive, 4 death, including the bride's father died. So that's how dangerous we are living in. And the virus is like cunning with a loop, waiting to catch one wrong step, and they will pull you in and finish you off. So every day is a gift, which is why it is called the present. Tomorrow, yesterday is a cancelled check. Tomorrow is a promissory note. Today is a gift. Today, it's not a matter of achieving distinction, marks, making money, tons of money. Like Ratan Tata said, today there's only one thing: are you alive? Are you dead? That is all that there is to it. Many people ask me, when will Corona go? In spite of all this, I said, the earth is getting plundered and ripped apart by vicious humans. Will you come across a good human nowadays? It is rare. Earth is getting ripped apart. The airs are getting polluted. Arctic ice and Antarctic ice are breaking apart because of global warming. Hundreds and millions of trees are being chopped. Where is you getting your oxygen from? From trees. And what are you doing to them? You're killing them. So the earth at some point said enough is enough and sent a virus. So I said, uh, what is the best vaccine against this humans who are the actual viruses? The virus itself. Earth sent a virus. Just clear it off. Because all other animals have no ulterior motive. They are clear cut and straightforward. They will not stab you behind the back. They will not take advantage of you. They will bark absolutely only when required. They will only kill if they are hungry. But otherwise, look at huge herds of elephants and tigers and lions and all the animals live in communal harmony. They love each other, they take care of each other, they support each other. That's how wonderful and loving they are. And the Lord God made them all things bright and beautiful, all things great and small, all things nice and beautiful. The Lord God made them all, other than vile, vicious, and venomous humans. That's how bad humans have become. So, as a consequence, that's how you are. That's how we are. And every person, you be very careful. But in this regard, when a presentation is given, I always include the parents for raising so many. Take care of your parents because they are the ones who have taken care of you. And so, a few of the, we are extremely a few things. Number one, why are heart attacks so common? Because the one thing that prevents platelets from clumping is pyridoxine, which is present in the original red hand milled rice ganji. Earlier, 40 years back, we drank it. Today, it's absolutely non existent. B complex, the doctor gave B complex to everybody for 2 years in his county, not a single heart attack. You see, you put B complex prevents heart attack on a Medline search, not a Google search, where you will find all that. Now, suddenly people will die in spite of absolutely normal. They have a cardiac checkup, normal. Suddenly they die. Why? Because the wiring of the heart undergoes a short circuit. In a house, the wiring undergoes short circuit. Suddenly there will be entire darkness. Where is the wiring? In the heart, the bundle of his. And if it undergoes short circuit, when will it undergo sudden stress which you're not accustomed to? IT guys, they want to maintain health, come back home, run on a treadmill, and they fall down dead. They are called treadmill deaths. Please put treadmill deaths on a Google search. All those you can see. What can prevent it? Omega 3, arachidonic acid, docosahexaenoic acid, and the three omega 3s absolutely ensure that the myelin coating is intact and that sudden cardiac death, SCD, will not happen. So, for your own parents, at least once a week, an omega 3 and a B complex every day, that will keep them healthy. It is so sad, my children, when they were studying, how many of their classmates' parents had a heart attack and died. All that perhaps could have been prevented. A breadwinner of the family that suddenly dies, that is the end of the families. What a misery they will undergo. Now, that's about heart attacks. Quite a number of mothers develop cancers, breast cancer or ovarian cancer, which absolutely can be prevented by calcium. How much of calcium intake is there today? It's almost non-existent unless the habit of drinking a glass of milk. So again, your own mothers every day give calcium and vitamin D that lowers breast cancer risk as well as it prevents ovarian cancer as well. It's like an epidemic of prostate cancers, which absolutely can be prevented by the skin of raw tomato, which contains lycopenes, and that can absolutely prevent the prostate cancers. So at least 2 or 3 slices of raw tomato every day. And of course, some things about the breakthroughs that I have, you be the best in the world. Only then can you survive in this fierce, very ferocious, competitive existence. You got to focus on one thing day and night until you get your break. I was grotesquely obese, and of course, running, dieting, gym, talwarkas 20,000 I paid. Nothing happens. Nothing will happen. You look at individuals who are slim and trim. They eat like they eat like gluttons. Nothing. It will not even touch them. Especially some girls are there slim and trim. Why? Because now we know it is because of what is called a slimming bacteria. Ultimately, we made the break, and I found this. There's a specific strain manufactured by a company in Norway, Denmark, sourced it through the Glaxo company to India and to where I am, and I swallowed it for 5.5 months. 35 kilos disappeared. No dieting, no exercise. So those who want to be slim and trim, contact me. We will, of course, now I charge because we need to sort of make some money also. But this is fantastic. How many people across India contact me? No dieting, no exercise, and you slim at the rate of about a millimeter a day, and gradually 5 6 months you become slim and trim, and you can eat whatever you like. So that's about slimming. The greatest tragedy now is guys losing hair. It's become like an epidemic. Every other guy is almost bald. Not that it really matters because all my greatest heroes are all bald people. Leonard Nimoy, Sean Connery, Vin Diesel, they're all bald, beautiful, and strong. But anyhow, guys come to me just before seeking a girl because they think girls look at their hair. No, it's absolutely false. But because it doesn't really matter, really. But then look at this. Ultimately, we have absolutely broken the code for hair growth, and I gave it for, it takes 3 months for 3 centimeters of growth. Look at this. The entire thing came back, and he says now he can't handle the number of girls who are approaching him for potential marriage. Now look at this girl. 10 doctors in Bangalore tried it, nothing happened. The world of the field of trichology is dead. And this is alopecia totalis, including skin, like a complete skin became exposed. But then I have absolutely broken the science of a code of hair growth, gave it to her for 10 months. Look at her now. She's like a model on a catwalk and, of course, enjoying her life. So that's about hair. Now, various other breakthroughs which still in the world has not broken. You should be, that's how you should be. There are TV one advertisement. I say, where do you see yourself 5 years from now? No, you got to be 50 to 100 years. I am 100 years ahead. 30 years back, I discovered the cure for migraine. $3 billion amount of money spent in America alone for the treatment of migraine without any cure. How much of things are being done? Nothing will happen. Ultimately, I broke the neurovascular axis and discovered that why migraine happens. Now, 100% guaranteed cure for migraine. We looked at the endolymphatic fluid getting formed into the inner ear, resulting in Meniere's disease. Discovered a way to reformat the sac, and completely we can cure now Meniere's disease or even benign posterior vertigo. And 100% any diabetic, we can cure them. Diabetes, of course, if you keep flooding a car with petrol with very minimal running, the petrol eventually will overflow. And now we can exactly equate the energy input output, and by fourth to fifth day, it is so sad we talk about drugs and the insulin and all that. Here, of course, without any drugs or anything, by fifth day they become normoglycemic and normal. Sciatica, of course, we now know a way in which the disc which is prolapsed can be pushed back in, augment the interdisc cartilage and augment the ligaments that bind them, and of course reformat the nerve that is pressed upon by a protruding disc. So many sciatica patients are completely cured. Like that, once you break through, of course, you need to make patients come to you. Who doesn't like you? Your own colleagues. Nobody will send patients to you. It is your word of mouth that brings in patients. How do you advertise? Although advertisement, they talk about in a very negative way, but you should go to the Gulf or America to see how doctors talk about there are various ways that you will tell the public, listen, this is what I do. Of course, you can have a website, but today, millions of websites and you will get submerged. What is it? The first thing that patients you can see on a net search is the third result you will find is a YouTube. So I put it on a YouTube. Now, hundreds of patients across India come to me for the various cures I do. Of course, Meniere's disease and the thing, food allergy, tenosynovitis, diabetes, and so many things. We have made the absolute breakthrough in slimming, in hair growth, and we have reversed the thing as a pencil thin people. We can make them put on weight as well, because once the villi of the intestine is activated in such a way that they will absorb nutrients, patients simply put on weight to about 2 to 3 to 4 kilos a month. So these are the way breakthrough takes you to the very top. It is not by what is outside. It's not your achievements and all that. It is what is inside. The hot air balloon goes up by what is inside, not the color or diamond or glitter or thing. Not is outside. So the more humble you are, the more you will grow up in life. Stay healthy, stay safe, and be respectful and friendly. After all, teachers are also humans. What do they want? Beyond a point of time, be friendly. That's all that they desire. And be respectful to them, and give your parents and teachers the due respect that they so richly deserve. So I close by saying, you come to this world naked and bare. Your journey through this world is trouble and care. You go to from here, nobody knows where. But if you have done well here, you will do well there. So whatsoever, this is my WhatsApp number. I repeat again, 924-330-1213. If you have any clarification, you may WhatsApp me and I will respond. If you have any uh, positive comments, of course, I would appreciate an appreciation in life. I have no religious or political leanings, but sometimes texts are very clear. What does the Quran say? Give the man his due before the sweat of his labor dries. And what did Charles Schwab, one of the biggest founding persons of Business America, say? Be hearty in your appreciation and lavish in your praise. So, if you have benefited from this presentation, I would like a word of praise on my WhatsApp thing, as well as if you have any clarification, again, write to me. But otherwise, you are on the verge of a long journey. And when we start on the long journey, earlier, many things can go wrong. Out of my 132 classmates which we had in Manipal, more than a dozen are already dead and gone of various reasons. So therefore, we do not know how perilous your journey can be. So we will wish from the divine gods, and we will say, may God be with ye, to one person and to many persons. If there are too many, when God be with thee, eventually it became goodbye. I will not say the shortened version of it. In your long journey, you are just on the start of a long journey. I am at the fag end of it. In your long journey, I will not just say goodbye. I will say, may God be with thee. Thank you very much. God bless and good luck.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you very much. If you need a clarification, clarify now, or you may write to my WhatsApp number as well. I would appreciate if you inform me from which college you have come from and how did you get to know about this. OMC means I have no idea. We are little thing. What does OMC mean? What is OMC? Okay, okay. Now, for those who have missed out, we will try to have this every Tuesday evening, 7 o'clock. Do convey to the others next Tuesday, 7 o'clock. Will be again this thing repeated. Initially, of course, we did have some starting trouble, and I now realize that you have to have a proper PowerPoint presentation, only then it will work. If you want to ask me anything, ask me now on a variety of topics, not necessarily confined to Corona. BMCRI means what does that mean? BMCRI.
ಅದು ಯಾರು ಹೇಳಿ ಕ್ಯಾನ್ಸಲ್ ಮಾಡಬಾರದು
ಅವ್ರ ಫೋನ್ ನೋಡ್ಬೇಕು ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಏನ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಅವ್ರ ಫೋನಿಂದಾನೇ ಮಾಡ್ಬೇಕು ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಏನ್ ಮಾಡಿ